Worry. It's something we all do, whether we want to admit it or not. We worry about work, relationships, money, health, and let's be honest, even whether or not we left the stove on. Some of us even worry about worrying too much. But what if I told you that a man who lived over 2,000 years ago might have the secret to living a worry-free life? That man is Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. He was a thinker, and a deep one at that. He didn't accept things at face value, and certainly didn't let the worries of daily life weigh him down. His approach to life offers a timeless blueprint for how we can stop worrying so much and start living more freely. Socrates didn't exactly sit down one day and write out a list of life tips, but his teachings, conversations, and even his trial, more on that later, give us a clear understanding of how he viewed worry. One of his key ideas that still resonates today is this: focus on what you can control and let go of the rest. Sounds simple, right? But let's be real. How many times have you stressed about things that are totally out of your control? This idea influenced many later philosophers, like the Stoics. In fact, Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's a direct philosophical descendant of Socrates' thinking. So, the next time, instead of stressing out, think, "Can I control this?" If the answer is no, then Socrates would probably tell you to relax. Many of our worries come from not understanding ourselves. We often chase after things that we think will make us happy because society tells us we should. But how often do we stop to ask if these things really matter to us? Socrates believed that by examining your own beliefs, desires, and actions, you could better understand what truly matters in life. And when you know what matters, you stop worrying so much about the stuff that doesn't. Think about it. How much time do we waste worrying about what other people think of us? If you truly understand yourself and what makes you happy, the opinions of others start to seem less important. Worrying about what other people think is like trying to chase the wind. It's pointless and exhausting. Instead, focus on understanding what you value, and the rest will start to fall into place. Ignorance is not bliss, but it's a start. Socrates was famous for saying, "I know that I know nothing." Now, that might sound a bit strange coming from one of the wisest men in history, but Socrates wasn't being modest. He was pointing out that a lot of human anxiety and worry comes from pretending we know more than we actually do. We often worry about things because we think we're supposed to have all the answers. We're worried about the future because we assume we should be able to predict it. We worry about decisions because we think there's always a right answer, and we should know what it is. Socrates would tell us that it's okay to admit we don't know everything. In fact, acknowledging our ignorance can be liberating. When you accept that you don't know everything, and you don't have to, a lot of the pressure comes off. Life becomes less about finding the perfect answer and more about asking good questions. Socrates lived his life by constantly asking questions, and he wasn't embarrassed to admit when he didn't know something. Don't fear death. It's just a change of scenery. One of the greatest sources of worry for humans has always been death. It's the ultimate unknown, and the idea of it makes many people anxious. Socrates, however, had a refreshingly calm view of death. When he was sentenced to die by drinking poison, hemlock to be exact, he didn't panic or beg for his life. Instead, he faced death with a calm and philosophical mind. In his view, death was either one of two things: a deep, dreamless sleep, which doesn't sound too bad, right? Or a journey to another place where he could continue having deep conversations with other great minds. Socrates believed that fearing death was pointless because it was something outside of our control and entirely mysterious. Why spend time worrying about something we don't understand? In fact, He thought that the fear of death could distract us from living a virtuous life. If Socrates wasn't afraid of death, we can probably stop worrying about a lot of smaller things, like getting old, making mistakes, or not hitting all the milestones society tells us we should. Life is unpredictable, and that's okay. Accepting that unpredictability is one of the keys to living without constant worry. Laugh at yourself. Socrates did. One thing often overlooked about Socrates is his sense of humor. He was known to use irony and wit in his conversations, and he didn't take himself too seriously. In fact, his famous method of asking questions, the Socratic method, often involved making fun of people's overconfidence and poking holes in their arguments. Socrates knew that sometimes the best way to deal with life's uncertainties and absurdities is to laugh at them, and you'll find that you worry a lot less. Seek wisdom, not perfection. Here's another big reason we worry so much. We're constantly striving for perfection. We want to be the perfect employee, the perfect partner, the perfect friend. But guess what? Perfection doesn't exist, and striving for it only leads to stress, burnout, and, you guessed it, more worry. Socrates didn't care about being perfect. What he cared about was seeking wisdom. He believed that the pursuit of knowledge and self-improvement was more important than any external markers of success. This is where his famous line, "I know that I know nothing," comes in again. Socrates wasn't saying this to be humble or self-deprecating. He truly believed that the more we seek to understand the world, the more we realize how much there is still to learn. This is why Socrates spent so much time asking questions and engaging in dialogue with others. He didn't believe he had all the answers, and he didn't expect anyone else to either. For Socrates, the goal wasn't to be perfect or to have everything figured out. The goal was to keep asking questions, to keep learning, and to keep growing. Embrace the present moment. Another key to Socratic wisdom is the ability to stay grounded in the present. One of the reasons we worry so much is because our minds love to jump into the future, imagining all the possible and often worst-case scenarios. But Socrates knew that focusing on the present moment was a more productive and much less stressful way to live. He believed that anxiety and worry arise when we get too caught up in what might happen instead of focusing on what's happening right now. In a sense, Socrates was an early advocate of mindfulness. He understood that life happens moment by moment, and we can only truly influence what's happening in the present. The Roman philosopher Seneca, echoing Socratic wisdom, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How true! Our minds can be like overactive screenwriters, scripting all kinds of dramas that will never actually play out. The more we learn about ourselves and the world around us, the more we realize how many of our worries are based on misunderstandings or misplaced priorities. But Socrates, ever the realist, knew that life is full of surprises, and rather than resisting them, he welcomed them. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often confusing, but that's what makes it interesting. And once we accept that uncertainty is a natural part of life, we stop worrying so much about it. That's it for now. Thanks to everyone who watched. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more new content. See you next time.